All right, so we're looking at dependent and independent variables in this lesson, and Tara is being paid $10 an hour to work at a store, and you're asked to complete the following table, and hopefully you can do this without a calculator. So she works $10 an hour. You need to figure out how much she earns for working 0, 1, etc. up to 5 hours, and you should be able to figure out that her earnings for 4 hours is going to be $40, 5 hours will be $50, etc. So the next thing we have to consider is which statement is correct. And first of all, Tara's earnings depend on the number of hours she works is one statement. And the second statement I want you to consider is the number of hours Tara works depends on her earnings. And if you read those again and think about which is correct, what you should understand is that statement A is correct. Since earnings depend on number of hours worked, earnings is the dependent variable. And the number of hours worked then is the independent variable. So when you graph this, the independent variable goes on the horizontal axis and the dependent variable is placed on the vertical axis. So the dependent goes on the y-axis and the independent goes on the x-axis. So in this example, as we said, earnings is the dependent variable because earnings depend on the number of hours Tara works. So it goes on the y-axis or the vertical axis, and number of hours worked is the independent variable. So it goes on the x-axis or the horizontal axis. And when you graph this, you'll note it's a linear relationship. And if we take a look at the first differences here, recall that the first difference is the difference between the dependent variable value and the previous value in the table. So remember, Tara's earnings are the dependent variable. So we look at a dependent variable value and look at the previous value, and that gives us our first difference. And for calculating, all we do is 10 minus 0, the previous dependent variable value, and we get 10. Next one is 20 minus 10, which is also 10. Next one is 30 minus 20, which is also 10. Next one is 40 minus 30, which is also 10. And last one is 50 minus 40, which is 10 as well. And note that in each case, we're going up by 1, increasing the value of the independent variable by 1. So that's what we mean by first difference. And here, since all first differences are constant, then the relationship is a linear one. So going back to our graph, we can actually see this graphically now because remember she earns $10 for every hour she works. So this could be translated into rise and run because earnings here is the on the y-axis. So she works 1 hour, she gets $10 more. So this is a rise of $10 more for 1 hour worked. And we can just keep going, rise of 10, run of 1, etc., etc. So every time she works another hour, she earns another $10. And so here it's easy to see that the first difference is 10 because every time the independent variable increases by 1, the dependent variable increases by 10. So the rate here, the rate of change is 10.